Hello, everyone. Sorry so much for being a little bit late. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening and hopefully not good night, everyone. Today we will be talking about scams. We will be talking about how the scams evolved to be the biggest consumer threat online. We will be talking about what we can do to try to be able to fight against scams. And I'm Leyla Bilge. I am the global head of scam research at Gen. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Nils Mueller, the director of North America, GASA North America chapter. Hi, Nils. So let's start by a little introduction and we can dive into the topic.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Leyla. So great to see you here again and live on LinkedIn. Thanks to everybody for joining and great opportunity to talk about this so important topic that touches all of our lives. So I'm Nils Mueller, as you said, and I lead the North America chapter of the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, or GASA. And we are a nonprofit organization based out of the Netherlands. And we are mission driven. And the goal that we bring is to protect consumers worldwide from scams, the financial and emotional toll of scams. And I'm heading up the local chapter here in the US, focusing on North America. And great to be here with you, Leyla.
That's awesome. So yeah, so can you start by a little bit explaining the mission of Global Anti-Scam Alliance and give a little bit of history, why it started, and how the community is growing over the last 5 to 6 years that it started?
Sure, yeah. So we're a relatively new organization, only about 3.5, 4 years old. But it came out of a recognition that we needed to build a global coalition of actors to tackle this problem. Scamming is something that touches everyone's lives, unfortunately. It's all too common. We've all experienced it. We've all gotten the emails and the texts and the people reaching out, trying to engage us. And so I think once you begin to understand the scale of the problem, right? So the amount of money that's lost to scammers, that is stolen by scammers from us, which reaches somewhere between $500 million and $1 trillion a year, depending on how you count it. But it's a staggering sum. It's about 1% of the global GDP is lost to scams. And we know that from the data that 25% approximately of people around the world have lost money to scams. That's stunning. 1 in 4 people have lost money to scams. So the toll, the financial toll is immense, and the emotional toll. People realize I've been taken advantage of. I've lost a significant sum of money. I'm embarrassed. I feel shame. And all of these impacts build up. So it's really, truly one of the issues, the great challenges of our time is how do we fight back against this? And so that's why GASA was formed, to build this global coalition to serve as a convening platform. So what we do is we bring together companies, policymakers, stakeholders from across the world and in specific countries to come to the table, exchange information, and find solutions. It's about identifying action steps. What can we do concretely to push back against this? And at the end of the day, it's about bending the curve. How can we reduce the amount of scams that people are interacting with, exposed to, and falling for, unfortunately?
Yeah, this is really amazing. Like, actually, no, I said 5 to 6 years, I think, because I actually know Yuri from way before GASA, and he has been already fighting with scams, and we have been in touch, right? So, but clearly, like, it's actually amazing to see the biggest community, like how the community got so much bigger in a matter of only 3 years or 3 years and a half. This is really extraordinary, and honestly, I'm really happy about to hear about it. So maybe I can actually comment on why we joined GASA, right? So a couple years back, so we as a company, Gen, our biggest mission is to try to provide a digital freedom to our customers. And that is going to be by providing a great protection and prevention from threats. While traditionally we have focused on different types of cybercrime, as many of you might know, like malware and different types of malware, like tech support, like which is actually turned out to be more like one of the important scam types. But we had like ransomware protection and malware and financial fraud and so on. But one of the observations we have started to see over the last 5 to 6 years is that a very big percentage of our kind of threats are corresponding to scams. And that is not a little percentage. So what we have seen is that in reality, while the number of malicious encounters we see in our data is not really dropping, but we see that there is this new threat type that is so prevalent. It's basically right now is 80% and sometimes even more based on the year. Sometimes it goes up to 90% of the threats that we block or we identify in our customer base is corresponding to scams. So after seeing this thing, we're like, okay, we provide some general protection, but all those scams are so complex that they all have a very detailed modus operandi, and you have to go into detailed analysis. And so we said, no, we have to go into this, join this organization, not only because we believe that we can do this thing alone or try to learn how the other people are doing and solving the problem, but because we believe that this is such a complex problem that it requires a really big collaboration across industries. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's so wonderful having you guys as partners with us in this initiative and in this alliance, and so very much appreciate your collaboration on this and your insights that you're bringing to the table on understanding the threat. I mean, I think that we need to go back a little bit to what are we facing here? What is the challenge that we are experiencing, and where is it coming from? And I think it's really important to highlight and understand that this is a very sophisticated business model. These are transnational organized criminal groups that are targeting us, that are targeting your friends, your family, your loved ones, and trying to find their vulnerabilities. And it is big business. There are billions and billions and billions of dollars that are being made by these scamming organizations that are taking advantage of us and taking advantage of the internet and anonymity and the vulnerabilities that we have online that are different from how we experience life in real life, IRL, right? It's a different world, and we're still adapting to that new world. And so, understanding that this isn't just some amateur sitting behind a keyboard and trying to ensnare you or your grandparent or your cousin. This is sophisticated, technology-infused, behavioral psychology and marketing driven attacks on us. So understand that this is what we're facing, and that's why we have to up our game in terms of responding, in terms of protecting ourselves, and trying to solve the problem. Understanding this is a global issue, but with local, very local and personal impacts. So that's how we, that's the big picture of where we are in this space. Leyla, maybe just thinking a little bit about the technology piece, we're increasingly seeing like the role of AI and supercharging some of these scams. What are you seeing in that space that really concerns you, and how do we adapt to that? How do we come up with solutions to deal with that?
Yeah, actually, like I want to kind of tie it with something that you said in your previous answer. So you said that scams are particular because they're targeting us, the people, right? So this is so different than what it was in the past. In the past, scammers or cyber criminals would target your device, your computer, and they would build this organized crime. They would use your computer, sometimes steal your data and sell it and so on. But they would also sometimes use the computing power of your computer to launch different types of attacks, right? And now what we're actually seeing is that they are targeting us. And while, as you said, they are kind of using their technical abilities and adding like this powerful psychological tactics that are targeting features that are making us human in reality. And one thing that we have to understand is that scammers are probably is one of the oldest jobs in the human history. Like I guess like the first time like people start trading something, I think there were some scammers out there that were trying to, so they know us really well. So they know us really well, and that's why this attack is becoming so much more powerful. And coming back to the AI piece, right? So one of the things that you have to understand is that now AI makes it even easier for scammers to know us better, right? And then while with that information that they know, they will have a very personalized attack that is gonna touch your heart. That is making it so much powerful from the AI's perspective. Like, of course, we talked about the psychological manipulation element. Like, there's a lot of research that is done by academics from people that work on psychology, and they will be able to just like read the paper with AI quickly and learn a new tactic that is gonna work on you really much better. This is one element. I don't know if there's already doing this thing, we can't not know, but something that is not so hard. You can just like, I do like deep search on large language models to kind of read a lot of papers in a fast manner. So they might be able to do that. Other than that, now speaking to the language that you speak is so much easier, right? So it's not like I don't have to, I can have like a very good accent and I can sound local. And not only that, I will speak your language, I might be able to speak your local regional accent. And I might know what is happening in your region. What are the kind of like songs that are like particular to you, the history, little things, and make it so much more authentic. This is something that is making it much more. On the other hand, there is also the other element of, with AI, they will be able to scale their attacks much, much more. So during the conference last week, we listened to this amazing presentation about one of the scam compounds identified in Dubai, right? And what amazed me was that still many of those scammers are employing human sources, like resources, right? Because still human is cheap. However, and they were able to recruit some, through human trafficking, which obviously is not a nice thing, but they do that. And for them, probably is a very profitable business already. But think about being able to do this thing completely in an automated fashion. And you would be able to do it so much more. And yes, we are already seeing some real impacts online. Like one example, so recently, we had throughout the North America chapter, we did this webinar about tech support scam. We talked about tech support scams. And one of the things we are observing recently is that over the last quarter, all of a sudden, 400% more tech support scams. And what happened? I went and talked to the analyst and said, what happened? Why? What's happening? And the guy told me, those domains, those websites, we knew them already a year back, but they never used them. And today, they just did them because it's so much easier to launch all these completely automated tech support scams. And in parallel, what was happening was in India, there was this tech support call center that was raided by police force in collaboration. It was a very nice cross-country collaboration, which I'm really happy to see that is already happening. And when they captured the scammers, they found a lot of evidence of AI being used. So this is happening. This is not an utopia or, like a horror movie anymore. This is reality.
Absolutely. Yeah, great example. And then just to provide a little bit of context, what are we talking about? What we were doing last week? Last week, we were in Singapore for the Global Anti-Scam Summit, Asia 2025, that brought together almost 900 people in person for 2 days. And this is people from companies like yours working on cybersecurity, from the social media platforms, from banks, from telecom companies, from government, from NGOs, advocates, bringing forward the stories of victims to understand how is this impacting people, because we have to really center this on the real life impact that this has on people's lives, and that's what's driving us to come up with solutions and responses. So we spent last week together in Asia working on that from that perspective, and trying to learn a little bit also about the government of Singapore and how their response is working. What are they doing that's working? What's working less well? And it's about finding solutions. It's about coming to the table to understand, all right, what are you doing? What is your piece of this puzzle? And how can we collaborate more closely and effectively to come up with real solutions that try to reduce the vulnerabilities that we have to these scams. So that was last week. And then I think you mentioned the tech support scam webinar that we held jointly, collaborated on that one, which people can go back to our GASA website and our social media and watch that. And then we have another one coming up on October 15th, webinar where we'll be talking about romance scams and crypto investment scams. And so what we're trying to do is these anatomy of a scam series where we unpack a specific scam tactic so that people can understand, okay, how is this being done? What are they trying to tap into vulnerability wise, emotional, social engineering, emotional manipulation, building trust, right? So these people reach out, they engage, they build trust to the point where people feel like they are in a relationship with these folks that they've never met in person, and they convince them to give them money, invest in crypto investment schemes, and it builds up to the point where, you know, after a few weeks or months or even longer, people lose their life savings and people lose massive amounts of money, and it's an incredibly hurtful and harmful form of scamming. So we'll dive into that more deeply. So I guess one of the things that we wanted to touch on, Leyla, is given this environment that we're in, what should we do to stay safe? Like what steps can we be taking? What should we be doing to protect ourselves in this environment, in this landscape?
Yeah, so I think we made people very scared. But I have to say that first of all, we are working hard to try to protect you. There is a big community of people. And honestly, last week for me, it was so enlightening seeing that we are like really stepping towards like solving the problem. And you can see the signs already. You can see like in many regions in the world, the number of reports were decreasing and so on, which is an amazing thing. Of course, this is a game, a cat and mouse game, right? So this is like a very difficult one. There is an adversary in the room. So they will try to adapt and they'll try to, and we will go back and we'll find a solution. We'll drop again. They'll go up and up, down. So we are working really hard to find solutions. So one thing that I have to say is that anti-scam solution to scam, it's not like just based on detection, based on using a tool or so on. It's a really holistic, you have to have a holistic solution that has coverage for different types of areas. So we have to do a lot of activities on the prevention side. And we talked about, you know, the education, the importance of education, awareness, and so on. And who is going to be educating people? It's not only us, it's not only companies. We will be doing whatever we can do. We'll try to reach out to a lot of people, but everyone else in the world should be trying to educate each other. And in particular, so we talked a little bit about the fact that older adults are one of the vulnerable populations to scams. And over 70% of people are telling that they're worried about their parents. So one thing you can do is to talk and be there and try to guide them and help them, and so that they are educated. So clearly, like, the society is making us so much more lonely, and that is making the problem even more difficult to solve, right? So indeed, like we did a couple months back, we did a survey about, you know, romance scams in particular, and people were admitting that sometimes even if they're kind of suspicious, they kind of like admit that, you know, instead of being lonely, maybe it's better to be with the scammer. This is really sad. This is really sad. So we have to do something. So education is really, really, really important. Of course, the other element, right? There are a lot of preventive measures. So our data is employed in these scams. So we should try to not share so much online. We have to be very careful. If you're getting a call from an unknown number, you're not gonna go and tell the details of your grandkids, and because we understand you're lonely, but maybe be careful, because that's what they kind of target. They're trying to get that information so they can attack you later on with that piece of information. So you don't share everything online.
And on that, I mean, one of the analogies I really like in this space is how as a society we've learned that as a best practice is that you lock your front door at night. I wish we lived in a world where you didn't have to, but that's a way to stay safe. We need to do the same things online. We need to adapt to the reality where you have to understand that you don't know who it is who's contacting you, and that people take advantage of that. And they are anonymous, and they are able to take advantage of people not being careful. They're not locking their online doors, right? And so that's what we need to build, that behavior change, build those practices of staying safe online by, one, understanding what the scams are and the tactics, and having conversations like this where we just raise the issue. We got to talk about scams. We have to talk about it with each other. What are you seeing? What texts are you getting? And what are they trying to trick you with now? And build a coalition of the good guys, right? That's what we're trying to do. Is a lot of us care deeply about protecting one another, about staying safe, about not losing tons of money, but also not being just attacked by strangers who are taking advantage and trying to use our own vulnerabilities and goodness to their own profit.
Yes. And of course, I cannot kind of skip the this little element of the fact that we actually need a partner in this, right? So we as a company have been working on to try to help people figure out how to spot scams, right? So if you're suspicious, there are tools available, and some of them are actually even free. You don't even, if you're not able to afford a security solution, there are those that are available. We have, for example, our Scam Guardian, which provides basic anti-scam solution to people online, because we really strongly believe that anti-scam protection should be democratized. Everyone should have access to basic scam protection. And even if it's not automated, doesn't have the most advanced AI that is expensive, unfortunately, you should be able to still ask. You should be able to ask to a assistant or a solution. You have to. I think this is one of the things that I wanted to mention, because I believe this is really important. Now the scale of scams are so much. We get so many, and I was mentioning just before the call that I received a scam email. So we get around 10 scams per week. Sometimes you will be just careless, rushing through something, and even the most tech-savvy person, and actually apparently the most tech-savvy people are more susceptible to scams because they have a little bit too much confidence in themselves, right?
That's right. Yeah, no, I think I think that's right. We need to have humility in this space. Anyone can get scammed. And we also need to have empathy. I think that all too often people who fall to these scams are blamed for it. And that's just not a helpful response. And we have to have the empathy to understand any of us can fall for scams because they're engineered to take advantage of whatever openings and vulnerabilities we all have. And so we have a collective responsibility to find solutions, to respond, to help people recover and get past this, and then prevent it from happening again in the future. We're looking forward. I'd be remiss to not mention that our next gathering will be in the Washington, D.C. area where I'm based, at Amazon headquarters here in the region, HQ2, in early December 3rd and 4th. People can join that online or register in person. So if you want to join the community and be part of this effort, please just be part of the team and be part of the solution.
Yes, this is really, really good to closing kind of sentences. So I also want to say, just be super, super careful online. Too good to be offers, don't do that. and like think 25 times before you're doing anything. And if you're not sure, just go and ask 3 people before doing anything online, right? Yeah, so
And
we also
slow down, right? Slow, don't rush. That's the tactic. People create a sense of urgency, and oh no, I better stop this bank payment or this. I'll give my information. Slow down. Take a beat. Take 10, 30
yes,
seconds.
yes,
Think it
that
through.
is like
Feel
the
right.
best advice
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nils. This was an amazing
Thanks,
conversation.
Leyla. Great. Well, looking forward to continuing the fight. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone for
Have a
joining.
nice day, everyone.